Welcome to the Passion Project Revolution, where we explore the highs and lows of creating passion projects. Whether it is a book you have a desire to write, a community service you want to create, a charity you want to set up, or sharing your own passions by teaching others how to do it, be inspired by the stories from people who have been there and done it. You know, everyone has at least one passion project, if not more, within them. It's held within their soul energy. And if, after listening to today's podcast, you want to discover what passion projects lie within your soul, then I invite you to download the Soul Creation Collage Workshop for free and start unlocking the potential within you. You'll find the link in the information section. But for now, sit back and enjoy this inspiring installment of the Passion Project Revolution. So a massive welcome to our guest this week on the Passion Project Revolution podcast. I'm really pleased to welcome Sarah Hill. I'm just going to read from my notes your introduction.
Okay.
So Sarah, you are a water phobia specialist who runs her own business called Swimmingly. It's your passion to help as many people as you can to learn to love water as much as you do by overcoming their fear of water. And you've done this by developing a new method to help people overcome their fear. So I think that's just amazing. I think that's incredible, because I think sometimes there is an assumption, isn't there, that as adults you've learned how to swim at school.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and yet there are a lot of people who don't know how to. And I guess my first question for you is, why swimming? What made you choose to go in the direction of as a swimming coach?
Well, I've always swum and I've always loved the water. I remember when I was a kid, I wasn't very athletic, I wasn't very sporty, but I loved swimming and I was good at swimming. I wasn't ever It was never an option for me, for whatever reason, to go into swimming, like swimming clubs and things like that, and compete.
Mm.
I don't think I was ever seen as that kind of a swimmer, but I just loved the water. I felt so at home in the water, and that's continued throughout my life, really. And I've always swum just because I loved it. I wasn't ever after speed or anything like that. I just really enjoyed swimming. And then I started, we're going back like 20, 25 years now. I started doing open water swimming way back in the day. And I started wanting to swim further. And swam for a few years. I did quite a lot of events and races and things. It was a much smaller thing back then. There wasn't many
Mm.
people doing it. And I had this goal. I always wanted to swim Lake Windermere.
Mm.
And I thought, oh, I'll never be able to do that. I don't know how to get to the point where that will be possible. So eventually I decided, I had my son, this was when I was 17 now, so we're going back 17 years. And I thought, right, I'm going to learn something new every year. I don't know why I decided that, I just did. And I thought, I'm going to learn to swim properly. I'm going to learn to swim again, because I was swimming long distance, but I wasn't getting the speed. I mean, I'm not a fast swimmer, I don't want to be, but I wasn't getting that um how I want. I wasn't swimming in the way I wanted to, and I was sore after swimming any distance. Anyway, I went and I was getting my hair cut and I saw a magazine article about this method of learning to swim, and it was called total immersion. And I thought, well, I'll have a look at this. Read about it. I thought, that sounds good, I'm going to go do it. So I went to get coached in this. I had to go down south. There was nobody in my area, and it totally blew me away. It was like, how obvious is this? It was a totally different way of looking at swimming. And the upshot, long story short, is that it enabled me to swim as long as I wanted to, without any injury, without any pain. And I absolutely loved every stroke. And I swam Lake Windermere like 10 years ago now, and it was brilliant. I loved it. And I didn't have any sore shoulder. I thought, I've done that. And anybody who knows me knows I'm not athletic. I'm not, I'm just not that kind of person. And so I really believe that if I could do that, then anybody could do that.
Yeah,
So
and that's a massive
ultimate,
achievement. For people who don't know Lake Windermere,
it's,
what distance is
it's
it?
about 10 and a half miles.
That's
Yeah.
that's
So,
quite
so it's quite a long
significant.
swim. Yeah. Yeah.
I've got a kayak, and I went, a fraction of the way, and I was like, that's really hard work.
It's a long way.
It's a long way.
But it was an amazing swim and I loved it. It was
Yeah,
fabulous. I loved every minute. And when I got home, I thought, I can't believe that I did that.
yeah,
I'd wanted to do it for years and I
yeah.
did it. And I thought, well, if I can do it, then feel I really need to let other people know that they can do
Yeah.
that kind of thing as well. So I trained as a swimming coach in this method, this total immersion method, which is just an astonishing thing. It's so logical. It's step by step. Do this, do that, do this. And then it's one thing at a time. So you can only focus on one thing, particularly in
Yeah.
the water. And it works, and it just enables you to swim with ease. And it's just a fabulous way of swimming. It's very mindful. It's very much about being immersed in thinking and the water as an experience, which suits me really well. So I set up as a coach. I had a proper job at the time, and I decided I'd give that up and risk everything. And I built a little pool studio in my garden, which sounds very grand. It's not. It's very basic, but it's beautiful. I love it. And I had no money and no clients, but I thought, well, let's just give this a go. Anyway, it went really well, and I had quite a lot of clients quite quickly looking for this method of swimming. And so I worked a lot on with triathletes, with long distance swimmers like myself, with all sorts of different swimmers, and that's what led me to the Passion Project.
Yeah.
That was
So
a very short question.
I know, but it's really fascinating, isn't it? And I think so many of our passion projects, arise from, well, the things that we're passionate about. It's logical, isn't it?
Absolutely, it
And
is.
because when you've been able to um achieve something so amazing as it's like I can't even imagine what it would be like to swim 10 miles. I just can't. But when you've done that and you've been through a training method that has made it easy or easier for you,
Easy, yeah,
it's like, well, God, I want to share this with people. I want
yeah,
to share this
absolutely.
knowledge. And so your passion project was in swimming and teaching people this method. But then you started to notice that there were people who had a lot of fears around swimming. And so
Mm.
you came up with a new
Yeah,
method.
I
So do
did.
you want to
So
talk
what
about that?
happened was I had a lot of people coming to me who, because they liked the private pool, because they liked one-to-one lessons, and a lot of people who couldn't swim at all, who
Mm,
clearly had a fear of the water, and they were not finding any support anywhere else.
mm,
And it wasn't necessarily something that I set up to do.
mm.
I mean, I'll help anybody learn to swim. When I first started, it was beginners, experienced swimmers, anybody, you're all welcome. But what I found was I started to get an awful lot of people who were terrified of the water.
Mm,
And so I was like, okay, I need to be able to help these people to
mm.
achieve their dream. They're sick of waiting, sitting on the side, watching everybody else having fun
Yeah.
while they're terrified. They just want to swim. And they couldn't understand why they had a fear and what was going on. So I looked at what I'd learned through the methods that I was taught on how to coach people who wanted to swim, who weren't afraid,
Yeah.
and also my own kind of take on how our thoughts create reality, and
Mm.
how we looking at that can have a huge impact on
Yeah.
what actually then is possible,
Yeah.
and sort of pulled it together and created a step-by-step plan
Mm.
that works. It helps people overcome their fears very, very quickly. It teaches them that my clients taught me how to do it.
Right, isn't it?
They taught me how to do it, because I was like, what works with this person? That doesn't work. What about this? What about that? And eventually I found common things that worked with people.
Yeah.
And I refined and refined that. I've been doing this now for like 8 years,
Yeah.
refined and refined it. And I've come up with a method that just works. And it's really easy. And people are astonished. I have people who come to me and within an hour, people who are terrified, crying, literally sitting on the side crying, not wanting to get in. And within an hour, they're happily going under the water, they're floating, they're gliding, the things that they thought were impossible. And it doesn't take a great deal of mind shifting and a few practical skills and an understanding of the water. And that's what's often missing. It's an understanding of what the water will do and
Yeah.
how to let it do that people have missed. And the key is for people that school swimming lessons didn't serve many people well. I'm not sure they still are. I know it's controversial, but it's true. The people I still get. And people just have big gaps in their learning around swimming.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
that then, because our human survival instinct kicks in and thinks, the water's dangerous for that person because they haven't learned how to use it,
Yeah.
then that becomes their fear. So their
Yeah.
fear is really a gap in their learning. And once they fill that gap and understand that that's what their fear is, once they fill that gap with the skills they need, there's no need for the fear.
Yeah.
So it's, if you look at it in a different way, and it's not, I've had people, they've had hypnotherapy, they've had all sorts of therapy, they've had counseling, all of this. You don't need that. You can do this in no time if you turn it on its head and look at it in a different way and understand what's really going on. And once you get that, it's like, oh yeah, that's obvious. And then you can get on and learn the skills. And once you've learned the skills, you can swim.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing. I know I had an experience a couple of years ago. I started to get panic attack when I was going up steep hill. So my thing's mountain hiking, and I was on a mountain leader training course, and we had to go up steep ground. So it's kind of like you're going up quite, and I started to have a panic attack, and it's like, what the frick is going on? I have never ever been scared to hike before. So I didn't understand what was going on. Fortunately, the assistant leader also had an experience of anxiety and panic attacks whilst he was a mountain climber as well. So, you know, the ropes. So he knew how to talk me through it. And he was like, this is not a real fear you're experiencing. He was like, what's happening is as you're going up and you're trying to keep pace with everyone else, you're getting out of breath. And when you're out of breath, your brain thinks you're dying.
Exactly. Yes.
Hence the panic attack.
Exactly.
So, like, so all you need to do is just go slow, regulate your breathing, you'll be fine. And it's like, oh wow, it's that simple. It's
so your brain is creating it's jumping ahead, it's imagining what's going to happen, it's feeding back to you that you're in a dangerous situation. And like, you know, you in the water you need to breathe obviously as well. So if you're holding your breath, if you're tense, you're not going to be breathing properly. So your brain is like, you need to get out of this situation, which it's not unreasonable, you know. I'm glad that it does that, because it saves people from drowning by not letting them go and do stuff that they're not ready to do. And once you realize that that's what's happening, you can stop that panic by breathing, by focusing, by giving your brain something else to do. So it cannot catastrophize. I don't know if that's a word, but it cannot do that. And so it's about being present. It's about noticing your breathing. It's about staying within your body, if you like, rather than projecting everything forwards. And with swimming, it's certainly not about getting outside your comfort zone. And people say, you just got to go for it. It's like, no, you don't, because that will set up that panic response
as well. Because it's like, you know, the worst thing anyone can say is just get over it, just get on with it.
Absolutely. And, like, and people still do.
Yeah.
Swimming teachers do. You know, even now people are paying people, and they've paid for lessons for a year, and they still cannot put their head in the water because they haven't learned how, and they can't float because they haven't learned how. That's all. And they then take that in and think it's something wrong with them. It's not. It's they haven't been taught the right things. That's all it is. So simple.
It's wonderful, isn't it, that you are able to teach people something that you're very passionate about. So it's almost like the work that you do doesn't seem like work, because
I do it, you know, I'm lucky that I do get paid for it, but I would do it for free. And I do quite often do it for free because it's the most important thing, the satisfaction that I get from seeing somebody go from literally terrified to crying tears of terror to crying tears of joy in an hour. And that happens every day, you know. It's like, it's amazing. It's amazing.
But when you started off, you gave up your regular day job and you had to build something in your garden to be able to
literally
how did you manage to fund this move away from kind of your 9 to 5 to this life?
It was difficult, I won't deny it. I mean, I earned a decent salary, I had a good job, so I did have some savings, and I used the savings. And I used that, and I built the pool in the garden, and it took the money. But it was okay. I thought, if the worst happens, I have no clients, at least we've got a pool in the garden to play in. You know, might have no money, but we'll be having fun. So it does sound very grand, and it's not. It's very, very simple pool, but it does the job. So it was savings and a bit of faith in
a lot of
the
faith.
universe delivering.
Because I think one of the things that stops people from, you know, following their dreams, from, you know, they might have this great idea for a project, and what can often happen is that fear of, well, how am I going to support myself with this? And quite often it will be, well, you need to set it up whilst you've still got that stable income as well. But like you said, there comes a point when you just need to take that leap of faith.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, this is going to be a bit hard to explain, but if you come from a point of thinking constantly about the money, which we need to, we need the money, we need some money, but that then your actions then become part a sort of I need the money action. Yeah.
Yes.
Whereas if you think about the potential
Yes.
and and trust that the money will come with it, then you work at it from more of a creative point of view. Does that make sense? And that creative energy then is what helps and what works and what takes you forward, rather than the I need the money energy. It's a very different thing. So I know it is a bit of a leap of faith and a different mindset to do that, but that's what I've found helped, rather than focus on I've got to earn a certain amount of money. I want to serve this many people, and that they will bring that money that I need as well.
Yeah.
So it's allowing yourself to do that, and it does feel a bit risky to start with, but when you see it working, it's okay.
And because I think, when you do anything from a genuine passion and a genuine desire to help others, it's, that's the energy that's going out, and the energy that comes back, it needs to match that energy, and therefore the income, the currency sort of flows naturally.
Because it's obvious to people as well that you're genuine and you really love doing it and you really want to do this, rather than I've got to make the money. It's a totally different way of presenting yourself to the world as well.
And also what you're doing works and it helps, and you've got, I've only just met you, but I can tell that you are a very empathetic person, that you really care about nurturing your clients through this process, rather than some of the bully tactics that can be around in this kind of field. So one of the questions that I did want to ask was, so what do you know now that you wish you had known when you first started developing the
I think there's a number of things, but the thing that stands out is it takes time. It takes time, and being impatient doesn't help anything happen any quicker than it's going to happen. So, because I've been working on this for a while, and I wanted to get it right, and I wanted people to know about it, and I wanted people to benefit from it, and they were, but it's taken quite some time for me to understand exactly what it is I'm doing and how it works, and how to let other people know that it works, and how it works, to sort of refine. And when I look back at it before, even 2 or 3 years ago, I wasn't being patient enough. So it's about having faith and trusting that it will happen, but it does take the time to do that. And it's also about going with what feels right, rather than what you think you should do. It's all like, oh, you should market like this, you should do this, you should do that, you should do the other, you should. And I'm like, it doesn't feel right. I don't want to do it like that. And again, that takes some trust, and it feels risky. But when you actually are doing what's right for you, then that comes across as you, and it's genuine, rather than something that's forced. So I think that those things.
And I was going to say, what support for you in developing your business have you found the most invaluable, do you think?
I've had some different kind of support. I had some local authority support, which was very much based around sort of, well, it wasn't very useful, put it that way. And I think the support has been, that's a tricky question, really. What support has been the most valuable? I think it's been support around self-belief, about not doubting myself and believing. I think the support has come from my clients. That's where it is. It's the feedback from them. It's the knowing the difference that's made, and the feedback about what's been helpful, what hasn't been helpful, the things that they've told me about what they've seen about me, and how that's made them think that I could help them. It's that kind of, it's that, I think it's like the validation is the right word, I don't know, but I think that support, rather than any formal support, it's been that listening to the clients and getting their feedback. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It really does. Because I think as well, sometimes what can happen is when you're qualified in something and then you want to start delivering it as a service, there's a whole thing around being your own boss and running a business and setting up
I
a
forgot all that
project.
side of it.
And
Yeah.
it's like, well, okay, I know I'm really good at doing this. Well, how do I let people know that I'm here?
Yeah.
And then you go into the whole realm of promotion and marketing and social media. And I don't know if your journey has been anything like mine. You kind of just start going off down rabbit holes, and
Oh,
this
absolutely.
person is an expert and that person is an expert, and your head's kind of like, do it this way. No, do it this way. G word. And it
Oh,
becomes
I've been there too. I've been down that rabbit hole. I've been through the whole Warren, I
yeah,
think, and I've loved it though.
yeah,
I've learned so much, and it's been so enjoyable, the learning
yeah,
and picking out the things that feel right and dumping
yeah,
the stuff that doesn't.
yeah,
And I'm a bit of an addict in terms of somebody's new technique on how to do a Facebook post that resonates with people and things like that. And yeah, I've learned loads. I've learned absolutely loads from that. But
yeah,
it is about picking out what works for you,
yeah.
and not to buy things online for like 20 quid all the time and forget you ever bought them and never look at them. Like the
Exactly.
amazing how to anyway, all of that stuff. There's
Yeah,
an awful lot to it. There is, you know, it always astonishes me that it's supposed to be easier these days with social media, but I can't see that it's there's a lot to it,
yeah, yeah,
you know, a
yeah,
real lot to it. But it's fun. I looked at it as like, let's just pick out what
yeah,
helps, and
exactly.
yeah, it's a good rabbit hole to go down.
Oh,
But
it
I've got to
is.
limit my time down it because
Yeah,
otherwise I'll be lost forever.
I know. It's great, isn't it? So, one final question for you. If you had a piece, golden nugget piece of advice or guidance for someone who is just at the idea phase of a passion
Mm.
project, what golden nugget would you give them?
It would be to follow what feels right,
Yeah,
I think. Yes, take on information, take on opinions, take on stuff that you found down a rabbit hole, but at the end of the day, do what feels right for you, and trust that that will work and that will bring you what you want to do. It may take longer than you think, but just it's that trust.
yeah.
As soon as you work outside what feels right for you, it's not authentic. It doesn't feel right. So that's what I'd go with, I think.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And before we say goodbye, Sarah, I just wanted to give you the opportunity to um, let the audience know where you are based, because you never know, someone might be listening who actually is like,
Yeah.
I really need Sarah's help. So where are you based, and what's the best way of people getting in touch with you?
I'm based in Ramsbottom near North Manchester. I've got a little pool, as I said, at home. It's a little private pool where I do my sessions. And so I do one-to-ones there. I also have an online version of a one-to-one lesson, which is available for people who can't get to me for a lesson, which is exactly the same as one of my water confidence lessons, and has the same results. And the best way of finding out more about me and what I do is through my website, and that's www.swimmingly.co.uk. So that's swimmingly, SWIMMINGLY. I think I spelled that right. .co.uk. Or my email address is sarah@swimmingly.co.uk. And you can find me on Facebook as well. If you just Google Swimmingly, you'll find me as well that way.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us today, Sarah. It's been an absolute pleasure to hear about your journey.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Has this podcast sparked an interest to create your own passion project? Remember, everyone has at least one within them, something that they have a strong desire to create or deliver, not always for profit, but for the sheer love of it. Your soul was designed in this way to help you find fulfillment in community energy. Sadly, what happens to many people is they get so caught up in survival, they forget why they chose to become physical in this time and space. But when you discover what passion projects lie within your soul, it triggers a massive uplift and a flow to inspiring energy. Basically, it feels really good and exciting, and you'll feel the momentum to take action, to create your own passion project. So if you're ready to start, have a look at all the ways that I can support you at www.thejanejackson.com. And here's one final thought to leave you with. When you create your own passion project, You are sharing love with the world around you, and that energy of love comes back to you to generate more flows to good energy and ultimate happiness for all.